I spoke to you last week for the first time, and then you find out that we have like all these mutual friends in comedy and entertainment and stuff. I mean, how did you, as a lawyer, like find yourself in this world?
Well, remember, our friends are all losers.
That's right. That's right.
So the world of losers is actually the world of losers is a lot bigger than the world of winners.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really answer your question.
No.
To some extent, though, one of the things you and I talked about when we were just schmoozing last week was the fact that I have found myself fascinated by this world of comics, because I'm a Jewish guy, talked with his hands, and who's the funniest guy in the room at any given time. Because I haven't been in some of the rooms that you've been in, but
no, most of the guys in those rooms are also Jewish guys that talk with their hands.
Right,
They're usually the funniest guys too.
I'm a comedian who is trying to make an honest living.
Yeah. And which means you can't do comedy.
Exactly. So what am I doing? So I've been fascinated over the last couple of years with this whole concept and this whole reality of how incredibly politically correct comedy has become. And so, I followed a lot of these guys, and some of them followed me first, some of the people that we're talking about. And, it's a fascinating subject to me. I don't know if it's as fascinating to everyone else, but, there was a time when comedians were the people who held themselves out as speaking truth to power. And, forget Lenny Bruce. Most of the people watching this never even heard that name.
Yeah. Lenny's sort of a deep cut for comedians in a lot of cases.
Exactly. But certainly everyone's heard of George Carlin.
Yeah.
And, the fact is, part of the reason Carlin was really not that funny in his last few years, and I think he wasn't, was because he was just so freaking angry.
Yeah.
He saw all this coming, and he was right on. I
was lucky enough. I got to see him. It was like one of the weirdest things ever. So in 2008, I started doing comedy in 2007. And in I guess it would have been the summer of 2008, or maybe this was I think this was November of 2008. I had taken a bunch of stock out and just kind of was like, I'm gonna be a comedian. I'm gonna do like shitty, low paying road gigs, and and just live the dream, right? And I had all my family was out of town for Thanksgiving, and me and another friend, my friend Jessica from Minnesota, we were just like, let's just go to Vegas for Thanksgiving. And then we went to Vegas for Thanksgiving, and I had gotten the worst tonsillitis that I've ever had in my entire life, which I later found out was mono. But
see, all these boomers had our tonsils taken out.
Yeah, so I was pretty much I was down for the count for that entire trip, and she's like, well, I guess I'll just go out and have fun without you. And so she just went out and made friends and gambled and drank. But the one thing we did do that we had planned to do the whole time we were there was to go see Carlin at the Orleans, and he was preparing for his very last special that he ever did. And so this might have been fall of 07, because I think his special came out in May of 08. So either way, this was around that time, and we saw him, and it was kind of weird because he was so scripted at that point. When we saw him at the Orleans, he had a stack of papers, and it was basically he was reading the transcript of his next special. Yeah. And, just eyeglasses, pitcher of water, table with his notes on it, and just literally sometimes he would grab a page from the table, bring it over, and just stand there and read it. And then other bits he had more memorized and would come out and perform them. But I remember kind of walking away of being like, man, we just paid $55 to watch this guy riff and write on stage. And as a new comedian, I couldn't be more enamored with the idea of how to the word he was, and how specific he was, and careful about the way that he worded things so that the point wasn't missed. So the word I'm looking for is meticulous. He was so meticulous about vocabulary, and you kind of understand, I think you're right. I think in a way he kind of saw all this coming and was like, if I don't pick the perfect words for these jokes, the point will be missed completely. And, for the rest of us that aren't as meticulous, we've suffered the wrath in the last, 10 years.
Oh, so you're talking about a meticulous, not just the comedy word choice craft, but the wokeness, which would not have been the word that would have been used at that time. You would have said,
Right.
I do think we had politically correct, though, in those days. The point is that he had to be extremely careful even then, and even being Carlin, the 7 dirty words Carlin.
Yeah.
He's nonetheless being incredibly careful in his word selection in order to avoid censure, not censorship, but censure